Well, hello and welcome to your very first history essay on the influence of humanism in the Renaissance. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you all do with this assignment. So, let's start on what it's going to look like when you're in Shobi. I'm going to move myself over here. So you're going to, if you're looking for the assignment in Shobi, it's going to be under Module 14, the Renaissance. And then, oops, not the Prince, but there's going to be it's called Renaissance Essay Outlines, and this is just where you are going to get the material to write the essay. You'll write the essay in a Google Doc and submit that file into my Bellarmine. But for the essay outlines, you will your essay. You will write an essay exploring the concept of humanism and analyzing its impact in either Petrarch's The Ascent of Mount Ventoux or Machiavelli's The Prince. And then you will expand on how these humanist ideals helped to shape the work and thoughts of other Renaissance figures. Now, there's going to be a different outline for each grade, and your options are you can get a C+, a B+, an A-, or an A+. If you want links to the Google Docs, I will show you how to get that on my Bellarmine. But let's just slide down here so you can see here, if you want the C+ rubric, you download that one. If you want the B+ rubric and you like to use a PDF, there's this one, there's the A-, there's the A+. You can also see that just looking at these thumbnails, that a C is shorter than a B+, which is shorter than an A, which is shorter than an A+. So that will give you a kind of a clue that the essays are going to be different depending on how complicated, they'll be graded on how complicated they are. If we look at my Bellarmine, your assignment, this is your Renaissance essay assignment. Similar, again, you have the description, and then here are your links to, let me hide this, the three outlines. So now what I want to do is I want to just look briefly over at an overview of all of the rubrics together, and then I'll show you each outline individually. So for all of the outlines, you will get an option. So C+ is red, B- is orange here, A- is yellow, and A+ is green. And you can see here, just looking at this, that there are gaps. So you're going to have things missing in the C+ essay that I will expect you to have in the B+ essay. And then there's the the B+, A- is basically a level of sophistication. So you're probably not going to have more sections. And then the A+, you have this extra section. So you can see that the essays will get more and more complicated. Now let's look at these. We'll go for what each category is asking you to do. So for the very first part of the essay, you will need to identify tell me what humanism is. You need to do that, notice, on all four levels. You should also talk about humanism in your source, whether you are going to use Petrarch as your primary source or you are going to use Machiavelli as the primary source. All four versions of the essay need to have that. Then you will need to notice, you don't need this in the C+, but in the B+ and above, you will need to do some sort of analysis of humanism's impact on other pieces of Renaissance work. If you wanted to go from the B+ here in the orange to the A- here in the yellow, you will need to make connections, comparing and contrasting, etc., between the pieces of the works from the Renaissance. You need to show how they're related and interconnected. Same thing with the A+. Then only on the A+ will you have to then move beyond the topic given of the Renaissance and humanism and apply humanism to a broader context. Then back all four levels, you will need to give supporting evidence from the topics we've read or the pieces of art that we've looked at or you've looked at on your own. And then every person, I expect you, whether it's a C+, a B+, an A-, or an A+, to write a well-structured and articulate essay that makes your point clear with logic and precision. So that's a general overview of the rubric. Now let's go specifically into each essay. So again, Your A plus is going to have a different outline than an A minus, which is different than a B plus, which is different than a C plus. Same thing here. So we'll start with the C plus. So if you want the C plus essay, this is what you will get. Copy of the rubric. And notice, I will either make recommendations or I will give you commendations. If I give you recommendations, you need to fix those in order to achieve the grade you desire. Then I've given you a sample outline. I think these are the sections you need to talk about in your paper, not necessarily how many paragraphs, because some of these sections might require more than one paragraph. So for the C plus, you should introduce the paper, define humanism, and give me a thesis statement. You should then spend some time exploring some of the key philosophies of humanism, and then transition into these ideas in Renaissance thought. You should then introduce your chosen work, either Petrarch or Machiavelli, give me an overview of it, talk about the humanist themes, and give me some excerpts that you need to in here. So you would give me specific quotes from the book showing me how you understand humanism. This should be a separate paragraph or a separate section. And then finally, you'll conclude by restating your thesis, summarizing the key points, and giving me some sort of closing reflection on the importance of humanism and in the Renaissance and its legacy. That's the C plus. If you want the B plus, moving on to that one. So B plus, more stuff to cover, and your outline will also be more sophisticated. You will again have an introduction. You will also have to just generally explain the concept of humanism. That's identical to the C plus paper. You'll have to also explain humanism in your chosen work by giving me an overview of the text and analyze the humanist ideas, and show me how the author's perspective is aligned with humanist values. Then here's the additional part. You will then need to do that. You will need to bring in another piece of work, at least one, preferably two other pieces of artwork, and then conclude by restating your thesis, summarizing the key points, and closing. The B plus paper, you just need to reference multiple works by Renaissance authors, artists, or thinkers. You don't need to make any connections between any of them. Once you start making connections, now you're moving from a B plus into an A minus. And that's the big difference here. Showing how they connect, demonstrating connections. And so if for the A minus paper, you will, same thing, introduction, concept of humanism in your primary work, evidence for it, and then analysis in the other works. And then you're going to need to specifically relate. And here, once you get into section 7, this is where this section might be more than one paragraph. It depends on how you want to structure it, where you actually are making the pieces talk to each other. And then you will conclude, where you restate your thesis, give me a summary, and close. Now, if you want to be perfect, like your Heavenly Father is perfect, this is what it looks like. So you have to do everything in the A minus, plus apply it generally. And again, I've given you an outline. Introduction, very similar. Concept of humanism in your chosen work, evidence for humanism in your chosen work, analysis of humanism's impact on another work, analysis of humanism's impact on a third work, relating the works to each other, describing how the figures relate to their principles, the relationship between the things and individualism and these characteristics of humanism in the various sources. And then here's the generalization or application point. Notice here, it says section 8, and then rather than just dots, I've given you numbers. There are 5 possible ways to get this point. Pick one of them and apply it. So if you want to extrapolate for humanist principles, you would need to do these 2 things in that. And I would delete the rest of the other numbers that you don't want, just to not get confused. If you want to apply humanism to politics and governance, you would do these things. If you want to talk about its influence across disciplines, you would need to give me these points. If you want to make a contemporary application of humanist ideals, give me these points. If you want to talk about the transferability beyond the humanist boundaries, give me these 2 points. And then in section 9, you will give me the conclusion. So I'm really excited to see your very first Renaissance project and you're on your very first history essay. I think you are all going to do great work, and I can't wait to see what you produce. Thanks so much.